This video is sponsored by Picastro. It's like Instagram for space nerds. Well, good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. Hope you're all well. Welcome on this Tuesday evening. If this is your first time with us this evening, you are most welcome. Let's just see who's hanging about in the chat. Let's see who's around. Hi, hello to Matthew. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon to you too, sir. Derek's there. Sandra's there. Who else we got here? Matthew's here. Hello. And a few others I can see. Anyway, I hope you're well. Welcome. What have we got on the show for you this evening? This evening, we're going to be taking a look at actually a few things this evening. We're going to be looking at NASA's Juno mission, which is going to come to an end in September this year, unfortunately. But it's been orbiting Jupiter since 2016 to study the interior of Jupiter. That was its main goal. So we're going to be having a look at the mission and what it's revealed to us about the king of the planets, and of course all those marvelous images that it's been returning, which has completely transformed our idea of how Jupiter actually looks. Also this evening, Michael's going to be looking back because it's a long time. It's 50 years since America and Russia in the era of detente joined hands in space in the famous Apollo-Soyuz mission. Lou is going to be doing another battle of the bots, and this time it's Mars landers. He's going to be putting Curiosity against Perseverance to see who wins. We've got Constellation of the Week, and we've got a few odds and ends for you as well. I do apologize. I haven't managed to do an Einstein of the Week this week. I'll tell you why. Last Thursday, a lorry at the end of our road took down a load of fiber optic cables that was strung between telegraph poles, meaning that, of course, we lost the internet and we only got it back at about midday today. So it's been nearly a week of trying to get that sorted out, but it was a hell of a mess because it took out the fiber optics for quite a few houses. Don't know who the culprit was. I hope they catch up with him and hit him, basically, because we've been without internet for so long. Anyway, that's by the by. So you're welcome, and we hope you've had a fantastic week. Just a few things, the normal housekeeping things. If you would like to support Space Oddities, you can do it in a few different ways, of course. You can buy us a coffee, and astronomers' lives matter, and we need caffeine. So if you would like to buy us a coffee, you can scan the QR code here, or you can click on the link that's just appeared in the chat. Don't forget as well, we have the Space Oddities shop where you can buy Space Oddities t-shirts and hoodies at extremely reasonable prices for some very good quality merch. Also, we recently launched our Patreon page. So if you would like to support Space Oddities on a regular basis, that is to say each month, you can do so. And you can visit the Space Oddities Patreon page. Very easy to remember, patreon.com/Space Oddities. And you get goodies for your money. So what do you get for your money? Well, first of all, when you join, we will send you 2 astro prints, 10x8 photographic prints, carried out or taken by our wonderful astrophotographers here on Space Oddities. And we'll send those to you free of charge. All you have to do is, when you join, you send us an email at patreon@spaceoddities.space with your address, your postal address, where we can send the prints to you, and we will send them to you. Also, we offer you Space Oddities presentations that appear on our Tuesday live streams, and they will be posted before they actually go on the live stream, so you get early access to Space Oddities presentations. Also, we'll be posting Space Oddities videos that we've created, and some other stuff as well. So it's all good value for money. and that will cost you the princely sum of £5.50 a month plus VAT. And your support in the Patreon page would be much appreciated. Let me just put that address up for you again. So that is patreon.com/Space Oddities. Become a member and get some goodies. Also, join the community there. There are several chats that you can take part in. You can chat with each other. You can chat with us. There's a chat there called the Astro Lounge, where you can sort of hang out and talk to each other. All the instructions for new members are in a chat, believe it or not, called For New Members. So when you join, read that, and that'll tell you exactly all about your benefits that you get for supporting us. And your support is much appreciated, because we have bills to pay to keep Space Oddities going like everybody else does. So your support in keeping us going, keeping us on the air, is much appreciated. So there we are. Let me just these people need no introduction, but I'll give them one anyway, because we've got to boost their egos somehow. So we have Michael here. Michael's here. Roger's here. Hello, Roger. Inevitably, Daz is here.
Hello.
All the way from ununited States, it's Lou Mayo. How are you, Lou? You okay?
Yeah. Yes. Everything's fine.
Somebody buy Lou a coffee, for goodness sake, please.
Please.
I was just saying as well, Andy, if you don't mention us, we don't get paid. So
that's
getting paid.
That's very true. That's very true.
We're not clocked in. We don't get paid.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to
bring my
say
agent over there.
You're not allowed to say anything, because that costs money. So there we are. All right then. Well, that's what we've got coming up this evening for you all. And let's first of all, let's go over to the news. So just give me a second to sort this out. As I was saying, because I've had no internet for several days, I haven't had a lot of chance to do anything this week. So I've only got a few news stories this week, but some really, really interesting ones. I hope you can all see that. Daz, if you could just maximize that.
When my internet goes out, I just make stuff up. So it's a poor excuse, Andy.
I've actually been using my phone as the mobile hotspot on my phone for the internet. But of course, that eats up data. Even though they gave us an extra 50 gigabytes a day while they were sorting the problem out, that doesn't go very far when you're using a PC.
Yeah.
So anyway, the news. 15th of July, the news. Parker Solar Probe has been in the news. This is NASA's amazing spacecraft that has flown within 3.5 million miles of the sun. Now, that sounds a long way away, but it's the sun, goddammit, and it's hot, and it's a dangerous environment and full of radiation. This video here is incredible. It's only a few frames, but this is what the sun looks like when you're only 3.5 million miles away.
Wow. Ooh, lovely CME.
Now, those streaks across the video are charged particles from the sun. But I think this is obviously looping, but I think this is an absolutely amazing video and shows how far we've come and what an amazing piece of engineering the Parker Solar Probe is to survive being only 3.5 million miles from the sun, because it's actually now inside the sun's atmosphere. So this is actually taken from inside the sun's atmosphere. I think this is really spooky, isn't it? It's
lovely.
It's absolutely unbelievable. So that's the Parker Solar Probe's latest set of images. Then we move on. I think, Lou, this might interest you.
Well, finally something. Thank you.
Oh, you missed my little bugger. Somebody give him a call.
I'm just in the mood. I'm just ignoring me.
So this is, well, what does it look like? It doesn't look like anything. And astronomers found within this area, 4 globular clusters. It's a galaxy, but this is a galaxy that comprises 99.9% dark matter. There is very, very, very few stars, and this is it's a count. They haven't confirmed it yet, but this is definitely a galaxy that has such an incredibly low surface brightness because it's not actually shining very much apart from those globular clusters. And we know that globular clusters are always associated with galaxies. You never find sort of roaming globular clusters. They're always found orbiting galaxies. So this is definitely a galaxy, but it has no stars. So
counted for gas and dust and infrared measurements.
Yes.
And 99.9% of the total baryonic and dark matter is dark matter.
Yeah, that's right. Which is interesting. We must have that debate at some point, Lou, because it's all getting very interesting. So there we are. So this is the second galaxy, in fact, that has been found to contain very few, if any, stars. That is made up. Its mass is made up of dark matter. So very, very interesting indeed. Okay, and the final one, the James Webb Space Telescope has discovered its first exoplanet, and here it is. And this is a system called TWA7. It's about 350 light years from the Earth, and astronomers realized that there was some sort of infrared excess going on, and when James Webb looked at the system, you can see that bright glowing thing at the 1 o'clock position. That's actually an exoplanet that is about the same mass as Saturn. And in fact, it's the lightest exoplanet ever discovered using this method. Obviously, the star and the circle in the middle is the coronagraph to shut out the light from the stars so that we can see the exoplanet. But amazing discovery from the James Webb there, and a beautiful image as well. So there you are. So that's all I've had time to put together for you today. So that's the news for this week. So I'm holding some story. I've got some more stories, but I'll hold them over till next week.
Yeah, because the dark matter story you were talking about, Andy, there was also another article I saw that they reckon that they've traced a lot of the so-called missing matter, because they found it intergalactic, the gas that's in between the galaxies and all that.
Oh, right.
And I know there was something about it a few years back about how they've actually can see it now because of using infrared technology. I don't know whether they've looked at it with the James Webb, but in between all the galaxies, they found this huge gas suppository, and they think this is where most of the missing baryonic matter is also sitting.
Right.
But it's so dispersed that it can't be seen or not easily detected. So again, we're sort of like getting slowly on top of where, does dark matter actually exist? Does it?
Yeah. Sure.
And where's all the missing matter that we've been looking for? So we're slowly getting there. We're slowly
very
making our road.
Very slowly. I mean, even a few decades ago, people were saying, "Oh, we'll nail everything down within the next decade. We'll find out what dark matter is and everything else." But it's taken a lot longer than people thought. So there we are. All right, then. Well, moving on, we're going to go over, as tradition dictates, to Roger, who's going to tell us all about what's in the night sky and the viewers gallery for this week. So take it away, Roger.
Oh.
Have we lost Roger?
We can't hear Roger. Oops.
Okay, can't hear you, Roger. Okay, let's just get rid of that for a moment then.
Oh, I thought he went to a better place.
There is no better place than Space Oddities. You know that.
Yeah.
Just-
And Anne's watching us on the big screen.
Roger, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
Oh, and very good.
yeah, catching us in all our glory.
All our
Hey.
glory. Yeah,
All that
Yeah.
handsome glory.
wrinkles and all. Wrinkles and all.
Yeah.
So we're just
Can you say something, Roger?
No sound, Rog.
no sound. No.
No.
Okay, well we'll come back to Roger a bit later then. So until he gets himself sorted out. So we'll move straight on. I'm going to talk about the wonderful space probe Juno that NASA launched towards Jupiter in 2011, and let's just share my screen with that. Just 1 second. Okay, so Juno is a spacecraft, as I said, that was launched towards Jupiter in 2011. So as its mission is coming, sadly, at last coming to an end in September, I thought we'd have a look at Juno's journey and what we've learned. So this was conceived under NASA's New Frontiers program. In 2005, it was selected, and Lockheed Martin actually built the spacecraft under the auspices of JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And it had 4 main goals: to study Jupiter's origin and evolution, investigate its internal structure and water content, study atmospheric composition and deep winds, and determine if Jupiter has a rocky core. Because these are questions that we really didn't know the answers to. There were lots of theories, lots of guesses, but we didn't have any hard data about what's actually inside this giant world. So the mission was launched in August 2011. It flew by the Earth for a gravity assist to accelerate it towards Jupiter in 2013, and finally arrived in orbit in 2016 around Jupiter, having traveled a lot of miles, 1,740 million miles. Now, to date, Juno is the only spacecraft that's been sent to the outer solar system that uses solar power instead of the traditional RTGs, the radioisotope thermal generators, nuclear powered in a nutshell. And obviously, if you're in the outer solar system where there isn't much sunlight, you need big solar panels. And indeed, Juno has enormous solar panels to power it. So in July 2016, so just not that long ago, but after a 5-year journey, Juno arrived. They gave it a 35-minute burn to slow it down enough to be captured by Jupiter's gravity. And they put it into a unique 53-day elliptical polar orbit around Jupiter so that it would avoid the worst of Jupiter's intensely strong radiation belts. It was actually slightly more complicated than that, because as the spacecraft approached Jupiter, they realized that one of the engine valves was stuck and they wouldn't be able to put it into the orbit that they originally planned, which was a 37-day orbit around Jupiter. They had to lengthen the orbit to 53 days. But having said that, they got all the science that they needed, and it really didn't affect the mission that much, although obviously it could have done more orbits of Jupiter. But there is also people at JPL found the solution and put it into this 53-day elliptical polar orbit, which meant that it wouldn't be too damaged by the intense radiation from Jupiter. Just a few facts and figures. It's done 35, I think it's up to 36 now, orbits around Jupiter. It's delivered 3 terabits of data, and it has 7 science instruments for measuring the magnetic field, the gravity variations, and lots of other stuff as well. One key discovery was that the atmospheric layer on Jupiter extends much deeper down than previously thought, and we're still not quite sure why that is. A few other numbers for you. 35 orbits completed, 3 terabits of science data, as I said. The top speed was 130,000 miles an hour relative to Jupiter. It did 1,450 turns to reorient it to point those instruments at Jupiter at the correct time. It's used 1,646 kilograms of propellant. It's traveled 3.1 billion miles since launch, or 5 billion kilometers. It's had its trajectory adjusted 65 times, produced 25.3 megawatt hours from those giant solar panels. And it's taken nearly 20,000 images of Jupiter. All of these images, of course, are in the public domain. You can download them, you can process them yourself, and good luck. And over 2 million computer commands have been executed. So here's just some of those stunning images. Juno Cam was put very late onto Juno. Originally, it wasn't planned to have a camera at all, but at pretty much the last moment, when the design of the spacecraft was being finalized, they realized, or NASA and JPL realized, that the public really wanted to see Jupiter, not just get lots of ones and zeros and bar charts and line graphs and things. So these images have all been processed by citizen scientists, and these are some of the amazing results. Close up, Jupiter is a very different world to how it looks from the Earth, and we'll see some more images in a moment. As I said, the mission's coming to an end on the 17th of September, when the spacecraft will be deliberately crashed into Jupiter's atmosphere and will be destroyed. This, of course, is to avoid contamination of any of the moons from any part of the spacecraft or its propellant. So, you know, this is the responsible thing to do. Get Jupiter's atmosphere to completely destroy the spacecraft, to vaporize it, and Jupiter's atmosphere, as we know, is more than capable of doing that. The same thing was done, of course, with Cassini at Saturn, to avoid contaminating any of the Saturnian moons. Just some few images returned from Juno. Close up, as I said, the detail of the planet is absolutely amazing. You can see some of these northern hemisphere polar vortexes here, the enormous storms, and these are images that could be paintings. Yeah, I mean, absolutely amazing detail and color in these images. And this one as well, like an abstract painting. This is all Jupiter's atmosphere, showing its complexity and how dynamic it is, and things move around very quickly in Jupiter's atmosphere. And this one looking at the limb of Jupiter with the great red spot there. Amazing images. But as I said, there are 2,000 or thousands of images. So you can download those. If you just Google Juno images, and you'll find it easily enough. Download the images and play around with them and see what you can do with them, because lots of people do. So at the end of its primary mission in 2021, NASA expanded the mission to take a close look at 3 of Jupiter's moons. So Ganymede, Europa, and Io. And these are moons that had not been imaged in detail since Galileo in the 1990s. But of course, camera technology was a lot lower resolution then. So they tasked the spacecraft, they changed its orbit so that it could do some flybys of these moons. Here's the one of Ganymede, which shows amazing detail of Ganymede, lots of craters, a very mysterious ridged terrain, which you can see very, very clearly. Obviously, planetary scientists are poring over these, trying to work out what it all means. But Ganymede is strongly suspected of having an underground ocean. So we'll have to see what further studies of Ganymede reveal in the future. But an amazing world. Here's the Juno image of Europa, which, of course, is currently due to be visited by 2 probes, the Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer from Europe and Europa Clipper from the United States. They're both going to be studying Europa when they arrived there towards the end of the decade. So an amazing image of Europa. We hadn't seen an image of this high definition of Europa before. I think this is the highest definition image of Europa ever captured. So an amazing world which we're pretty sure contains an underground ocean and possibly life. And it's going to be the subject of much study over the next 10 years or so. And finally, Io, this amazingly volcanic world orbiting Jupiter, its crust being stretched and squeezed permanently by the immense gravity of Jupiter, giving rise to more than 200 active volcanoes on its surface, and a hellish landscape. This is Juno's image. I love the mountains there with the shadows. It's a composite image, and it's absolutely amazing. So beautiful image of Io there as well. So what did Juno actually discover about Jupiter? Well, first of all, that Jupiter's core, which was originally thought to be about the size of the Earth, is actually a lot bigger. But more than that, it's a lot more diffuse. And it's nobody knows why this is, but it has a diffuse core much bigger than expected. And in fact, it takes up about half the planet's radius. So not quite sure what's going on there, but we now know that Jupiter has a much bigger core and it's more diffuse, rather than being sort of like a little world inside Jupiter about the size of the Earth. The atmospheric dynamics were greatly illuminated. There are deep jet streams extending far below cloud tops and complex polar cyclones. There's variable water content detected in Jupiter's atmosphere, especially concentrated at the equator. Now, if anybody remembers the Galileo probe from the 1990s, it did actually drop a probe into the atmosphere of Jupiter, but it didn't find any water. And what's believed now is that just unluckily, it happened to drop into an area of Jupiter's atmosphere that was unusually dry. But we now know that there is a lot of water in Jupiter's atmosphere, especially concentrated at the equator. And as we said, active moons. These are geologically active moons with active processes, and helping us to understand that a lot more. So that is the Juno mission in a nutshell. Team, what do you think? Any memories of Juno?
Well, all I can remember is the absolute amazing images.
Yeah.
That we were treated to. We'd never seen anything like it before.
No.
And the delight also when they announced the extension and it was going to visit the icy moons. So and Io. But it was absolutely amazing. It's been well worth its pennies. Let's put it that way. And it's the way that all these machines over the past decades, how they once they finish their primary mission, they're being extended and they're going on to do something else. It's
brilliant engineering again.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of questions, Andy. I don't know if
let me put one up here. This is one for you, Lou. Don't know whether you know does anyone know the actual width of Jupiter's atmosphere?
Width of the atmosphere. Well, from what you said, it's probably on the order of 6 Earth diameters in radius.
There we are.
That's my guess. It's probably pretty close. I'm within an order of magnitude.
Yeah. There we are. And I hope that answers your question about 6 Earths. What else we got here? Matthew says, lovely memories of the mission. It's been an incredibly successful mission, although, as I said, when they had that slight hiccup with the engine on the way to Jupiter, obviously everybody was really worried at the time, but it didn't really affect the science at the end of the day. All the science objectives were completed.
And also the problem they had with unfurling the antenna.
There's a question from Derek. What if it contaminates Jupiter?
Mm.
Well, the thing is Jupiter's gravity and the re-entry into that atmosphere is going to be totally obliterated. So there's
Yeah.
very little chance of anything being surviving. I mean, when we talk about contaminated, we mean Earth microbes or anything like that as well.
Yeah.
And of course, these planets, these moons have got such tenuous atmospheres. There's a good chance that something could survive if there was anything. I mean, we try to make sure these probes are as clean as they can be when they leave our their home planet, and but contamination is, I should think, is literally zero
Mm.
once that enters into there. Yeah, I don't think there's any more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a couple more things I wanted to pick up on there. But Ian says Patreon is cool. So thank you for that, Ian. Yeah, thank you. It is. It is. So go and join us on Patreon and have some fun and get some goodies. So there we are. Ian says, who's woofing? Is that Roger trying to get back in? No, not quite. I'm afraid it's my next door neighbour's dog who woofs about this time in the evening, every evening. And even though I've actually got the door closed, you can still hear him. So apologies for the barking in the background. Nothing much I can do except to shoot the dog. But I'm not going to do that, obviously. Be a waste of bullet. So there we are.
It's just one more from Derek. Just let me pop this up. I think he's looking at a bit of target practice.
Proper question. Could the final target go through the red spot? Don't know.
Might obliterate the red spot.
Well, the other thing about it is you have to remember that Jupiter is a giant world. You could fit 1,000 Earths inside Jupiter. So one tiny spacecraft going into the atmosphere is not going to contaminate it in any way at all with all that atmosphere. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. I don't think anybody knows what the plan is, to be honest with you, Derek. Where they're going to put it into the atmosphere.
Yeah, the concern is not so much polluting Jupiter. It will get pulled in to Jupiter and be crushed and become part of the Jupiter's core. The issue is, would it crash into one of the moons? And that's something of concern, but not Jupiter.
Yeah, that's right. Sandra, thank you for your donation. Very kind of you. Much appreciated. But they haven't announced exactly what part of the atmosphere they're going to plunge it into yet. We'll find out nearer the time.
It's going to go in at the top.
It's going to go. Well, it's in a polar orbit, isn't it?
And then go down.
Yeah.
It'd be embarrassing if they missed it being so big.
Yeah. Yeah. We threw a spacecraft at Jupiter and missed. But if you remember,
asteroids and that, but it can't catch a small probe.
If you remember, with Cassini at Saturn, they really decided to go all out and do a series of dives through the gap between the rings of the planet, which was very, very, very dangerous in some respects to the spacecraft. But they got
also spectacular,
extremely spectacular. So perhaps they'll try and do something interesting like that.
Can I just say something, Andy, about the Galileo again?
Yes.
About the antenna as well. Of course, it was put in storage for several years.
Yeah.
Because of the shuttle disaster, and it was launched late on. 89, I think it was, wasn't it? Was it 89 it launched? I think so.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, absolutely. But again, the fact that its antenna didn't unfurl properly, it didn't really stop the science at the end of the day. It just had to happen a lot slower. So again, it fulfilled all its science objectives.
And it was the motivation to do some very cool technology development, both with the spacecraft, data compression, and with the Deep Space Network. So some good came out of it.
That's right. So problems like that spur things on, don't they?
They do, and these ground crews that monitor the health of the instruments and of the spacecraft they just work magic. They're amazing.
They are amazing. They are amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, we've had all the troubles with Voyager over the years, which is understandable. It's only a couple of years, and it'll be 50. And also Lucy, wasn't it? Lucy's had some problems as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
With that was with the antenna, but they've slowly worked to the problem, and they've virtually got it all the way open now. So
Good.
yeah, it was
I didn't
very
know
good.
that. I didn't know they'd done that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you have such brilliant people working for NASA and JPL, you do everything in your power to hold on to those people, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
Not sack them.
Absolutely.
They
kind of they move them between missions for that reason. One mission will end, another mission will start, and they move these people with all of their experience to a new mission, and that keeps them not only working on the current missions, but keeps them available if there are problems with the missions they had worked on.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Do we have Roger's sound back? Say something, Roger.
No.
Okay, I think Roger should put up his slides, and we will just extemporaneously comment on them.
Absolutely.
Have you got? We can hear you very, very slightly, Roger. It's like.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, I think he has.
Yeah, he's signed out and he's come back in.
Oh dear.
That's right. That's weird.
Take some of our coffee money and buy Roger a microphone. I think that's
yeah. I think he's using a tin can with a string at the moment.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, can hear you.
Can you hear?
Can you say something again?
Keep talking.
Hello.
Right. Okay.
Is it all right?
Right. Yeah, that's fine. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So what's in the night sky? Viewers gallery. Apologies for the delay, but technology. All right, off we go then.
Right. Okay, so we're working our way through the July month. Working our way 2/3 of the way through. So let's proceed. We're currently coming away from the full moon from last week as we work towards the new moon coming in another 10 days or so. Okay, so we're currently in the waning gibbous phase, and the last quarter will be in a few more days' time. So could be quite a pretty sight to see if you're up late or staying up. So we're currently experiencing Mars just setting around about 11 o'clock through the night. And looking at my forecast, we will start down in the south of the UK. We will start to get some astronomical dark skies again, but only briefly for about 20 minutes or so. So as it progresses from the latter part of this week, we will start to see proper astronomical darkness return. Hurrah! But currently facing the southern horizon, we've got the glorious Milky Way core coming up through as soon as it gets dark enough, and gracing skies overhead pretty much are the summer triangle stars. So there we go. But also we've got quite a few planets coming up through from pre-dawn sky. Saturn will be first making its appearance, followed by Venus and then Jupiter. So there is still an opportunity to have a look at the very thin gut of the planet, and we will be having Venus coming up shortly as well. So there are a few interesting planets to see before sunrise. So keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
Right. So Jupiter's in Gemini, and Saturn is in Pisces. So it won't be too bad to see, and they are a reasonable brightness as well. So there we go. So we've also got keeping those planets company is also Uranus and Neptune. So a little bit more of a challenge, but if you want to still try and spot them, you still have the opportunity before it gets too bright in the dawn sky. But as we've now see in this slide here, we've got Mars, which is getting to be a bit too low down now once it starts to get dark, but there is an opportunity to spot it. But Mercury is getting rather close as well, so that pretty much covers all of the planets that we have. So we've got the southern Delta Aquariids starting to make an appearance, so keep an eye out for that. So that will go through to late July, but have a look for that. And we've obviously, as I just said, we've got the summer triangle, which will be almost overhead. So look carefully up and don't fall over trying to strain yourself to look at it. So we've obviously got some of the well-known objects that we all like to have a look at or photograph. We've got Andromeda coming out through in the morning with the galaxy there, and we've also currently got Hercules with the M13 as well. So get those pictures in and submit it to this gallery, which I am now going to show you all.
Me.
Another good selection we have. We've got some images from Michael here on 3 successive nights leading up to the full buck moon.
Oh, thank you for that, Roger.
So it's quite interesting to see from Michael's pictures the different colours of the moon as it rises up through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously going from right to left, which was the buck moon phase, that was obviously taking quite a low angle through the atmosphere to give you that sort of smoky colour there.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've got the middle one, which was on the 9th, a little bit up higher, but we still got some atmospheric coloration there. And then we've got a nice clear view of the moon on the 8th, where you've got no atmospheric disturbance really.
That's right. The one on the 8th, I actually turned into a black and white image to try and get some more detail out on it.
But
so more what's the word? Contrast. Yes. And
contrast and clarity.
That's the one. And the full moon one, there was a little bit of high cloud, but you couldn't actually see it through the camera.
Yes.
So yeah.
But it's quite interesting to see how quickly the atmosphere changes the color of the moon as it does rise from the horizon to show you how much you can be challenged.
Yeah.
And if there's any fires like there were in across the Atlantic, then it does give quite a dramatic coloration, even more so.
Right.
Now we've got a few from Daz this week with his sea star.
No.
So we've got the Eastern Veil Nebula.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's just over an hour and a quarter on this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got some
That's
nice
really
details there.
Really is
Very
nice.
good.
And of course, as I hope to show you at some time, and this is all processed using standardized. And some of the processing is done on actually in the sea star. It's all programmed in. And you just designate what you wanted to do. But also the rest of this is just enhanced in standard as they come phone editing tools. So yeah, it's so simple to do, so simple. I was really surprised how well that came out actually. And again, it wasn't perfect seeing, but it's been denoised. And then just a few more little tricks and bobs, and that's what you get.
Perfect. Well done, Daz. And then we've got another one of Daz's, which is of the Andromeda Galaxy.
Oh,
Yeah, this
Oh,
this
that's
needs a bit more integration time. As you can see, it's very short. The reason being is the short nights, trying to get a few items in. But what I neglected to do here is I forgot to frame the actual galaxy. You can turn the framing, so it'd rather be more of a landscape, really.
right.
But you can actually see the two satellite galaxies as well. You'll be just beginning to get the lanes in, but as the nights get darker, then we should be able to add more integration into this and
Yeah.
get better. So
excellent.
Maybe a panoramic as well.
yeah,
Or
you
mosaic.
you can do panoramics. But of course, when you sort of like first look at it in C Star, you only see the core, but so you can't tell how it's orientated.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's fine.
you can do panoramics. You can actually set it to do sort of like 4 or 6 frames across the whole width of it. But like I say, you need the integration time to be able to do that because it'll be doing frame by frame by frame by frame, then starting again. So you need more to get this sort of like integrate. This is just 34 minutes on the core. So
Well done. And then we've got this final one of the pinwheel.
yeah, Pinwheel Galaxy again, a bit more integration time with that would be nice. But I also did Bodes and several other galaxies and some other nebulae. So yeah, it's surprising what you can actually get just with just using it in its bog standard form and using what's at hand, really.
Absolutely.
Wonderful, Baz. Well done.
Yeah, you got the arms coming out nicely there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and we've got another regular of Michael with his solar imaging, and this was on the 14th, so just yesterday.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
Very nice.
nice. Yeah.
Quite a nice selection of spots there.
Yeah.
That's again a C star image, isn't it?
No, with a Skywatcher 62.
Oh, okay.
millimeter.
Sorry. The only reason I said that is that for some reason the C star puts it at that angle. If you see all the sunspots, they're all at an angle, but it needs to be rotated slightly to anti-clockwise because they, like I said, they go straight across. It's a very strong. Why I started doing that, I do not know, but it's simple enough to do. But yeah, that's a lovely image. That is fine. You can also see some of the white areas, the lighter areas around the sunspots there.
Yeah, the faculae.
Yeah, and that's just showing that there's magnetic forces brewing underneath. That's the sunspots there. Lovely.
Yes, Danielle.
Beautiful.
Okay, here's some of my solar images from a few days ago.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, the sun's got some trees on it.
Yeah, they certainly were.
Hedge
and you've got some almost sort of suspended prominences as well there as well.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Talking of prominence, there was a huge liftoff earlier today. So I might be able to get a video of that before we end the day.
Yeah, we do have a rather large coronal hole at the moment down on the
massive, isn't it?
Absolutely,
huge.
Right, now here's one I've only processed just before I came on. It's Crescent Nebula, and this is in a SOO format, sulfur and oxygen.
That's lovely.
That's lovely.
So it's a bit of a weird color palette, but it's a work in progress.
Very nice.
Lovely, that is.
Right. So there we are. That's about 6 hours integration time for that.
Always reminds me of a brain, that one.
Yeah,
I know it does.
There's a question from Paul on here, by the way, about the sunspots.
Does a high number of sunspots reduce the total solar energy heating Earth by a measurable amount?
It goes in the opposite direction. It
Yeah.
is non-intuitive. As the magnetic field of the sunspot pushes down on the upwelling plasma, plasma gets compressed. Right? It can't come out above the sunspot, so sunspots are cool and dark, but it comes out around the sunspot, producing faculae. So there's actually a tiny increase in the brightness of the sun the more sunspots you have. It's very non-intuitive.
Wow. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the sunspots are responsible for giving us flares. They're also usually connecting where the filaments and the prominences connect. So the sunspots do have a lot of effect on the Earth, but as Lou said, what you can see, how can I explain it? It's when you see a prominence and you see a sunspot, and there's usually a connection, a bridge between a positive and a negative sunspot, or north and south, whatever you want to call it, and it forms a bubble. And as Lou says, the underneath the photosphere, you've still got all the magnetism. You're seeing all the hot stuff trying to come up through, but it can't burst through that area because that's where the sunspot is. And as I said, it's pushed to the side, and you get that extra heating, and that's why the area looks whiter. But yeah, it's I have actually produced. If you look on the YouTube and on Patreon, I've actually posted some very quick, about 3 or 4 minutes long, descriptions of what different things are actually on the sun and how they affect us, and I'll be building on that. So yeah, if you'd like to have a look at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone, that's the gallery for this week.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
That's great. That's great.
Very
Yeah, just don't forget that we are building quite a nice little library of presentations and videos for you on Patreon, and we will do our very best to get those to you before they're actually posted on YouTube. Daz has actually posted 4 videos on YouTube this week about various things related to the sun, and those are available for Patreon members to download. And if you want to know how to do it when you join Patreon, go to the chat that says for new members, and full instructions are included there. So we hope you enjoy them. And also don't forget that when you join Patreon, you get 2 lovely 10x8 astro images selected from a selection taken by our astrophotographers here. So all you have to do is to send us your postal address, full instructions in the chat called for new members, and you get 2 free lovely photographs. Gerard says, I've just recently purchased a Celestial Origin, hoping to get some images soon.
Yeah, good luck with that, and hope you're starting a journey that could be very bad for your health. You don't get much sleep. You don't get much sleep at all.
Very good.
So, and also, if you've just purchased a Celestial Origin, we know who to thank for the clouds.
Yes.
Telescopes always come with clouds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's lovely. Thank you.
While we're on the subject of Celestial, something I noticed today on social media, there's an advert being posted on Facebook, and I assume other social media, about Celestial shops shutting down, and they're selling off lots of Celestial telescopes really cheaply. Please ignore it. It's a complete scam. Celestial don't have any shops. So it is a complete scam, and I can guarantee if you order a telescope, you'll pay for it, but you won't get a telescope. So watch out for that, because there are an increasing number of adverts like this on social media. Facebook don't appear that bothered by it, because if you complain about them, nothing ever happens. So be careful with any adverts for astronomical gear on social media. There are so many scams going out there now, and a lot of them are being generated automatically by AI. So just be careful. We don't want any of our viewers to lose money. So there we are. Okay, so that's the gallery. And don't forget, if you'd like to send us your images to the Galaxy, All you have to do is attach an image to an email, 1 image per email, please, and mail them to gallery@spaceoddities.space. And you will also have your own little gallery of your images on the Space Oddities website, which is https://spaceoddities.space. And there we are. So you'll have your own published gallery as an astrophotographer. So there we are. All right, let's move on. We're going to go over now to Michael, because it is unbelievably 50 years since the famed Apollo-Soyuz mission. And I don't know whether you're going to set the political background for this, Michael, but basically in the mid-70s, Russia and America entered into this era of detente, where they began to trust each other slightly more than they had previously. And they decided to mount a space mission jointly together to demonstrate to the world that America and Russia were now best buddies, and nobody need worry about nuclear bombs raining down on their houses. So there we are. So Michael, when you're ready.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yep, we can see that.
Okay. So this is the story of the Apollo-Soyuz test project, as it was known. The first international space flight by American and Soviet spacecrafts on the 17th of July 1975. So this actual week, 50 years ago, this event took place. It was the first US-Soviet crew docking mission, and this symbolic achievement during the Cold War tensions paved the way for future international space cooperation. And we're celebrating 50 years since this mission tonight. This is the image on the left, is the mission patch or emblem that the Apollo crew designed with the two Russian names on there as well to commemorate the mission. Okay, so yeah, as Andy said, in the early 1960s, space race rivalry intensifies between the superpowers of America and Russia. And Russia kept beating America in space. First spacewalk, first a number of firsts by Russia before America caught up. Then in the 1970s, and in the era known as detente, it was a policy of relaxed tensions between superpowers. They started talks. They started talking openly about the scientific goals of space missions and that sort of thing, and opening diplomatic channels between the two superpowers. So everything became a bit more relaxed in the Cold War situation. In May 1972, US-USSR agreement signed for a peaceful space cooperation, signed by US President Nixon and Soviet Premier Alexei Kosygin. And here are the two leaders signing that document, with lots of state people in the background. And between 1973 and 1975, a joint training program took place, and cross-cultural visits took place to build trust between the two crews and their people involved, both in America and Russia. And American astronauts learned Russian, whilst Soviet cosmonauts mastered English, a testament to the mission's collaboration in spirit. Okay, so this is the configuration of the two spacecrafts. Apollo service module and command module in the Apollo CSM. A specially built docking adapter to enable the two completely differently designed spacecrafts to dock in orbit. This is the Soyuz 7K TM. Still much the same as the Soyuz that Yuri Gagarin flew back in 1961, and this is the actual configuration. Docking adapter is especially built for this particular mission, and this piece of equipment only fitted once. The Apollo vehicle was a leftover from the Apollo missions to the moon, after the final few Apollo spacecraft Apollo missions were cancelled due to budget cuts, etc., by America. So the Apollo crew, 3 men in the Apollo capsule, have consisted of Thomas Stafford on the right here, on his 4th space flight, Vance Brand in the middle on his 2nd space flight, and Dick Slayton actually got his first mission on this particular flight after a 16-year wait from being selected as one of the first sets of astronauts for NASA. He was grounded because of a medical issue and had to wait this long before he got a flight. So, and the Russian crew of 2 was Alexei Leonov and Valery Kubrasov, Leonov on the left here. Alexei Leonov was the first spacewalker. Okay, this is just the crew portrait for the whole crew, 2 crews together. The American crew on the left there, with the Russian crew in green on the right, along with the model of the spacecrafts in the middle. Okay, so Apollo launched at 3:50 p.m. local time, whilst the Soyuz launched a few hours earlier. It's a Saturn 1B configuration. The Saturn 1B was used for Apollo flights into low Earth orbit to test out various systems of the Apollo system. Again, this was all surplus components from the Apollo lunar missions era, and including the launch of the first stage of the launcher and the S4B stage as well. This was, of course, the final launch of the Apollo Saturn system, and the final launch of the capsule spacecrafts for NASA until the missions that now take place with the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. Okay, so this is one of the. It's not very good picture, unfortunately. Whoops, sorry. This is a picture of the Apollo with the docking adapter taken from the Soyuz. Unfortunately, not a very good picture, as I say, but it clearly shows the layout of the docking adapter there, and the 3 petals that lock with the corresponding petals on the Soyuz craft, a system which has been modified and used in later configurations for docking spacecraft in orbit. So the adapter was 3 meters long, 1.5 meters in diameter, cylindrical module. It served as an airlock to equalize the pressure between the different atmospheres of the 2 spacecrafts, and controls, communications, environmental systems for safe crew transfer. And this is just a diagram that I found from one of the old press kits of the mission. Basically, as I say, a cylindrical module to allow for the crew to pass between the one spacecraft and another. And that's a close-up of the petals on the docking system. And I'm just going to show you a short video, if it will play.
Docking completed. When we opened hatch in space, we were opening hatch on the Earth, a miracle in the history of man.
So that handshake took place over the Atlantic. Oops. And here's a close-up of the 2 of the cosmonauts and astronauts, Tom Stafford and Leonov there, taking hands for the first time in orbit. And this is close up of Dick Slayton with Leonov greeting one another as well. One of the experiments, they did quite a few experiments between them. A lot of it was classified, so I understand. But one of the experiments was to try and achieve an artificial solar eclipse, whereby the two spacecrafts, after undocking, would perform maneuver so that the Apollo spacecraft would appear in front of the sun as viewed from the Soyuz spacecraft. The idea being to make an artificial solar eclipse. Not much information is on this particular experiment, but we did find one image taken from the Soyuz of this event. And thanks to Daz for finding this out for me earlier. And this is the actual image that we can find. After this, they didn't get the positioning exactly right to form a total eclipse, but you can see the idea was there to actually get the total eclipse by using the spacecraft. Okay, so the actual mission itself, Soyuz launched at 8:20 Eastern Daylight Time, and Apollo followed at 3:50 on the 15th of July, which was yesterday, 50 years ago. On the 19th, oh, sorry, wrong one. On the 17th of July, the historic docking was achieved at 12:12 p.m. EDT over the Atlantic Ocean, and the 19th of July, the undocking occurred after 47 hours of joint activities. And then on the 21st to 24th of July, Soyuz lands near Baikonur and Apollo splashes down near Hawaii. So, as I say, some scientific experiments took place between the two crews. They tried, and they had to go at making the first human eclipse. They had crew exchanges, transfers between the Apollo and the Soyuz spacecraft, and cultural exchange, televised greetings, gift exchanges, and shared meals in orbit. Okay, so this was an historic first mission with international crews. Docking demonstrated compatibility of rendezvous systems. Foundation established for the groundwork for Shuttle Mir program, and later the International Space Station Cooperation. It marked the last US capsule flight until the 2020s. Crew Dragon Demo 2, providing space unites humanity. And that's it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Michael. That's wonderful. An historic mission. I remember it very, very clearly, and it did seem as if it was going to be the start of much greater international cooperation in space. But of course, that period of détente didn't last long.
No.
And Russia and America went back to the Cold War as it had been before, but obviously not because of the amazing efforts of those brave astronauts. And I would
one thing I remember was, I don't know why this was, but the mock-up of the Apollo-Soyuz that the BBC built for their coverage of the mission ended up on display in Dudley Zoo. Not too far from me. And I went to see it, and it was brilliant. But why it ended up in Dudley Zoo, I just do not know. And I'll try and find some more things about that, I think.
There must be a terrible pun in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't think of it at the moment.
No.
So, but the other thing I was going to say was, having studied Russian myself for a few years, I think it would have been a lot easier for the Russians to learn English than the Americans to learn Russian.
Definitely, yeah.
To be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, it was all viewed with lots of suspicion because, like you say, it was supposedly the end of the Cold War. There's a bit of détente going on. They were very wary of each other. And also, they were very critical of each other's systems. of how poor they both were. You know, the Americans, their system was terrible to the Russians, and the Russians' systems were terrible to the Americans, and that's why they came up with this joint, this mating tunnel on there. So it wasn't, and also it wasn't that smooth going, because on return, the Apollo crew nearly died.
Oh, I see.
Because what happened is that I'll just read this out. The mission was considered a great success, both technically and as a public relations exercise for both nations. The only serious problem was during re-entry and splashdown of the Apollo craft, during which the crew were accidentally exposed to monomethylene thydricine and nitrogen tetroxide fumes caused by the unignited reaction control system, the RCS. Hypergolic propellants venting from the spacecraft and re-entering the cabin through air intakes. The RCS was inadvertently left on during descent, and the toxic fumes were sucked into the spacecraft, as it drew in outside air. Brand briefly lost consciousness, while Stafford retrieved emergency oxygen masks, put one on Brand, and gave one to Slayton. The three astronauts were hospitalized for 2 weeks in Honolulu, Hawaii. Brand took responsibility for this mishap because of the high noise levels in the cabin during re-entry. He believed he was unable to hear Stafford call off one item of the re-entry checklist: the closure of the two switches, which would have automatically shut off the RCS, and began drogue chute deployment. These procedures were manually performed later than usual, allowing the ingestion of the propellant through the ventilation system. So they were very lucky to have survived that, because, like I said, Brand lost consciousness. If the others had, then nobody knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
And of course, as you said, Dick Slayton, he was one of the original Mercury 7.
Yeah.
And was unfortunately diagnosed with a cardiac problem, which they think now was possibly a misdiagnosis, and so he had to wait 16 years before he could get into space. But yes, it was a very
Sorry, I was going to say as well, though, with all the hype about relaxing tensions, we now know whatever happens in space, we're still America are still launching Russians and vice versa. Whatever happens in space, cooperative like that, doesn't really make a difference to what's happening on the ground.
No.
Well, I mean, we've seen this time and time again with things, things going on geopolitically, but the space community still interacts and works together regardless. It's
space flight and basically all of science, the whole of science community, isn't it?
There was scheduled to be a second mission for this project, but that was scrubbed. And as you said, that was the very last Apollo flight to actually ever happen again, because also they scrubbed the second mission because they'd already started to dismantle and rearrange the vertical assembly building to start building the shuttles and that.
Shuttles,
So it's
all right. Well, there we are. Well, thank you very much for that, Michael. Very interesting. Our soldiers remember that mission very clearly, and let's move on. We're going to go to Lou now, and it's time for another battle of bots. And what have you got for us this week, Lou?
Can't hear you, Lou.
Can't hear you, Lou. Having some sound problems tonight.
No sound.
No. Okay.
Well, I can't hook to my mic and have you hear me. I don't know what the problem is with that. But,
well, we can hear you now. So
All right, let's try this again. We're going to go to Mars as a prelude to our Mars month, and we're going to compete 3 Mars rovers, really 2 generations of Mars rovers that have invaded Mars with no permission, no, we just went there. So let's get that up here. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so today on Space Oddities, Battle of the Marsbots. This is 3 generations of Mars rovers, the Great Martian Land Invasion, right? Let's see what we've done to Mars so far. This is a picture of 3 rovers. The one on the bottom, the Sojourner rover, launched in '96, was essentially an engineering mission. The goal was, can we put a rover on Mars, control it, take some data? So that was the first, and we're not going to talk about Sojourner today, even though it's the cutest of the Mars rovers. But we're going to talk about the MERs, the Mars Exploration Rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, which were launched in 2003. See that on the left. And the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers. This is Curiosity, here launched in 2011. You can see the relative sizes of these, especially compared to a human. So you can get a feeling for kind of what we're working with here. They just keep getting bigger and bigger and more complex and more complex. But let's see what they really can do. So, Spirit and Opportunity. These rovers were probably they were the first of a generation of actual scientific rovers producing scientific data with spectrometers and imagers and weather systems on board. And just as a side comment, do you all know why they were called Spirit and Opportunity? Anybody on our panel know that?
In keeping with NASA's tradition of naming things after human virtues?
In a way, yes. There was a contest for naming these 2 little rovers. And the winner of the contest was a 3rd grader, a 9-year-old girl named Sophie Collis. And Sophie grew up as an orphan, at least for part of her childhood, in Russia. And then she came over to the United States, and she remembers lying in the orphanage where it was very dark and very cold, and looking at the stars outside, I guess her window. And when she came over and hoping that she could fly there sometime and be, free, as it were. And she came over to the United States. She was adopted. And she said, the United States stands for Spirit and Opportunity. And so she won the prize.
Wow.
Kind of a cool little story.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay, so here it is. This is either Spirit or Opportunity. They were identical rovers. You can see they have stereoscopic imagers on top, both for doing 3D imaging of the panorama of Mars, as well as for ranging to get distances to far-off objects. They have, let's just go clockwise around, a mini test. This test stands for Thermal Emission Spectrometer. And so this is an instrument that would look at the infrared emission of the surface. They have a Mossbauer spectrometer. Now, for those of you, I'm sure you all have learned about Mossbauer spectrometers in grade school. But if you haven't, it turns out that when a nucleus emits a gamma ray photon, there's a little recoil like a gun. If you shoot a gun, there's a little recoil, which takes some of the energy out of the system. And depending on the mass, I think the way this goes is depending on the mass of the nucleus, the certain amount of energy is taken out. And by looking at that spectroscopically, you can tell what the substance is that is emitting. So that's what a Mossbauer spectrometer does, believe it or not. There's an alpha particle X-ray spectrometer, again, mostly built for looking at the composition of the soil, to see what minerals are there, to identify areas where water has been. There's an imager on the end of the robotic arm. It's 2 words, microscopic imager. You don't have to give it an acronym, MI, but they did. And so it's a microscope on the end of the robotic arm that can look closely at rocks and surface material. And then there's the RAT, the rock abrasion tool. And this kind of would grind away at the surface of rocks because you want to see what the material is underneath all the weathered surface. And so this would allow you to do that, and then to look at it with a microscopic imager, and then to take a spectroscopy of it with the X-ray spectrometer, and so on. The other thing to note about the MERs is that they're solar powered. And this turned out not to be a bad thing. It was felt that eventually they would, or fairly quickly, they would get covered with dust, Martian dust. Martian surface dust is very, very, very fine, as we've said before, like a baby powder, and would eventually coat the surface of these solar panels, which it did. But because of the tremendous temperature difference, the temperature gradient between the surface and higher up in the atmosphere, these little mini tornadoes get set up that sweep across the surface and would occasionally sweep across the MERs and clean off their solar panels. So they lasted much longer than mission specs. Here's the EDL, entry, descent, and landing sequence for the Spirit and Opportunity. All of these missions came in hot, something like 12,000 miles an hour, something like that. All these missions came in hot. They didn't slow down and orbit first and then descend. So they had a heat shield that, as it interacted with the atmosphere, contacted the atmosphere, it would slow the spacecraft down and also heat the spacecraft up. So there's a heat shield at the bottom. Then at some point, as the velocity decreases, a parachute is deployed, the heat shield drops off, and that allows the it's really a package of a parachute and the instrument package to sense the surface. So it did some radar measuring the distance to the surface. At some point, this is all done automatically, by the way. Mars is too far away to joystick this. Then at some point, when it's the right distance above the surface, rockets fire, slows the spacecraft down even further. It then releases the rover in free fall, but just before it does that, it inflates, believe it or not, it inflates a group of airbags around the spacecraft. So it actually bounces off the surface and eventually comes to rest. The airbags deflate, and there's a small launch pad for the rover. So kind of a interesting, I wonder who came up with that. I don't think I would have. Here are the pieces of the spacecraft, the cruise stage that guided it to Mars, the back shell, the rover itself, the heat shield, and then on the right shows what the landing platform looked like that the rover would rove off of. This is not all that high resolution, so I apologize for that. But it does kind of give a sense of the EDL, entry, descent, and landing for the MER. So let's watch this for a minute here. Seven-month cruise time. Comes in, aero brakes with a heat shield.
Yeah, we do apologize for the low resolution of these videos, but they were made a long time ago now.
Yeah, I suspect that may be the problem. I'm surprised. I mean, NASA usually releases very high quality stuff, so
Yeah,
you can get a feeling for what happened here.
yeah.
There goes the heat shield. It drops the rover with the bags not inflated yet. It's sensing the surface, sensing the distance to the surface. And pow, the airbags inflate. The retro rockets fire. At some distance, they just release this thing to bounce on the surface. Just incredible.
And they bounced for a few miles, didn't they?
Yes, the low gravity of Mars didn't put up much resistance. Now, obviously, this is an animation, of course.
Yeah.
So it just bounces forever until comes to rest. The airbags deflate, and the mission begins. The science part of the mission begins. Little data on the MERs. Spirit on the left, Opportunity on the right. Both exceeded their planned lifetimes, took many, many images, as well as other data, as we talked about, including atmospheric data and surface spectroscopy. Traveled quite a distance, given how slowly these rovers moved, and actually were able to scale a little bit of the hills of Mars. Curiosity. This is a completely different picture. Curiosity rover was far more advanced than Spirit and Opportunity, and as we will see, and I have a surprise for you at the end, a little fun surprise. The EDL was nothing like Spirit and Opportunity. This thing is a highly advanced chemical analysis machine. You can see a number of the instruments on here. It's very similar design in some ways. It has a rocker bogie that is six-wheeled. It has a camera with stereoscopic imaging. It has a robotic arm with instruments on the side, including a drill, not an abrasion tool, but a drill in this case, and a number of instruments designed to analyze, mostly to analyze the surface. I'll point out specifically the SAM, the Sample Analysis at Mars. This is a very sophisticated chemistry lab that was built at the Goddard Space Flight Center, put on the Curiosity rover. And as dirt was dug up and they could put it into this chemistry laboratory and do mass spectroscopy on it and figure out what the surface was made of. So just an incredible, very advanced instrument. You can see the ChemCam instrument that is actually able to fire a laser to put a small hole in the surface. Very similar goals to the RAT instrument for MERs. Want to drill down into the material, get away from the surface weathering, and then do some imaging and spectroscopy on the internal material. Perseverance, very similar, a little bit larger. By the way, both Curiosity and Perseverance are nuclear powered, not solar powered. So they do have defined lifetimes. You see here, very similar. There's a mast cam with a laser tool and 3D imaging, as well as distance measurements. A surface radar, the RIMFAX, that was able to do some subsurface radar measurements to see if there were, for example, water aquifers below the surface. One thing that I found very interesting for Perseverance is this MOXIE instrument here. MOXIE wasn't designed to take data. It was designed to produce oxygen from the Martian atmosphere, and it was highly successful. It produced enough oxygen, I think, at one point for to last an astronaut for 4 hours of breathing, something like that. So that's an engineering instrument. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. It was very effective. And so that's going to be very important as we send people to Mars. META is the weather station, temperature, wind speed, pressure, that kind of thing, as well as a variety of spectrometers on the end of the robot arm. This is a picture of the rather Rube Goldberg scenario for dropping the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers on Mars. They actually lowered it with a crane to the surface, and then had the rocket portion of this cut the line and fly off to the side so it wouldn't crash into the rover. And we'll show you a little more about that later. So where did we send all these rovers? Mostly to rather low latitude places. The selection for landing sites was highly driven by the possibility for finding water and the possibility for finding perhaps ancient organic material. The big exception to this was the Phoenix lander. That was not a rover, and that was there to look at possibility for ancient life and other conditions for habitability at the poles in the permafrost. So Opportunity landed in Meridiani Planum, an Eagle crater where they expected to find water. Perseverance in Jezero crater, where water was also expected, as well as the possibility of volcanic material. Curiosity in Gale crater, Gusev crater for Spirit, all of these areas that were likely areas where water once flowed and perhaps the harbingers of life at one time. Well, this is a little misplaced, but this is the remnants of the airbags for the Spirit and Opportunity rovers. Once the airbags deflated, they just kind of roll off that little incline there and go touring. Okay, so for Perseverance and Curiosity, EDL was a rather complicated affair. Again, these are coming in hot. They did not slow down as they approached Mars. They used a heat shield for what's called aerobraking, and that slowed the spacecraft down a little bit. Once it was slowed down enough, a parachute deployed. At that point, the heat shield is released so that the spacecraft can gauge the surface and get a radar lock on the surface. And at that point, it begins to look for terrain that is good for a landing site. Again, all of this is automated. None of this is controlled. This is called in the business the 7 minutes of terror, because as the spacecraft comes in and there's radio interference from the heat generated from the aerobraking, they don't know what's happening. And even if they did, it would take perhaps 7 minutes or so for the signal to get to Earth to find out if the spacecraft was alive or dead. At some point, it releases a rocket packet that holds the rover. The rocket packet continues to descend, sensing the surface, eventually lowering a crane that gently places the spacecraft, the rover, on the surface, and then the rocket package flies away so that it doesn't collide. I remember placing bets that this was not going to work. And it did in both cases. Just amazing. Just an anatomy of the parachute segment in the back shell, the descent stage, and the rover. Now, let's take a look at that a little more closely. This is leaving Earth orbit. Spin stabilizing the spacecraft. Making minor trajectory updates during cruise phase. There's the aero braking portion. Everything automated. The atmosphere of Mars is just thick enough to pose a problem, but not thick enough to make it easy to parachute. Now sensing the distance to the surface. Imaging the surface, selecting the landing site. They use this crane mechanism so that they don't kick up a lot of dust from the rockets. That would be the case if you actually used rockets all the way to the surface. Okay, I think we'll stop there. If we can. Okay. So some of the science discoveries for MER, much of the science that was returned from the Spirit and Opportunity rovers was evidence and compounding evidence of the existence of water on the surface of Mars. They found these blueberries that you've seen before in the news, I'm sure, the hematite-rich concentrations that are evidence that a watery environment once flowed. Other chemicals that they found on Mars are indicative of oceans or at least of a warmer, wetter environment. They were able to, actually one of the wheels was kind of dragging and it dredged up material from below the surface. And they found an unusually high percentage of silica, which on Earth would exist in hot springs or hot steam vents. Again, evidence of water. And then on the bottom here, this is a vein of gypsum. And on Earth, we find gypsum in watery environments. So this was the big set of discoveries for the NERs. For Curiosity, I'll mention this. We had IRTF measurements from the ground indicating the presence of surface methane on Mars. But we didn't have ground confirmation. Curiosity actually provided that ground confirmation and found that the mole fraction of methane at the surface of Mars would rise and fall with the seasons. Here's a graphic of what that looks like. In the winter and spring, the percentage of methane was low. As spring developed and came into summer and then autumn, the percentage of methane would rise and then would decrease again in the winter. This is not absolute evidence, but it is consistent with the possibility of subsurface microbial life on Mars. Having said that, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, we know that galactic cosmic rays, high energy galactic cosmic rays, can penetrate 2 or 3 meters into the Martian surface. So this is a bad thing for life, right? So perhaps if this is a biological origin, it would be a little deeper than that. The other thing to note is that methane should not be there. Methane is a highly volatile gas. It should break up immediately. So if we're seeing it on Mars and we're seeing it in kind of oscillating in abundance, something is producing it. There were also radiation monitors on the Curiosity rover. I mentioned galactic cosmic rays, as well as solar energetic particles. These are very dangerous for life and therefore astronauts. And so you would have to design a Mars mission to minimize the astronaut exposure to radiation. I'll show you what that looks like here. First of all, this is a log plot on the y-axis. It doesn't go linearly 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes 1, 10, 100,000. So any increase that you see is actually larger than you might expect. So on the surface of the Earth, maybe a few millisieverts of radiation, then that would increase kind of from all sources, including air travel. If you get a CT scan, these things have lots of X-rays in them, and that gives you a little bit more. The human body can probably handle up to about 200 in a year, and so you're within safe limits here. But now Department of Energy radiation workers, they get more, blah, and on and on. And you see the point, 500 days on Mars, which is the anticipated length of a Mars mission, a human Mars mission, is up in the 1200 millisieverts area, which is quite dangerous. The SAM instrument, the Sample Analysis at Mars instrument, which is a suite of chemistry experiments, essentially, found that the atmosphere of Mars was enriched in heavier forms or isotopes of hydrogen, carbon, and argon. This means that Mars has lost a fair amount of its atmosphere over time. This was predicted, but not confirmed until both Curiosity and Perseverance made measurements of this sort, as well as the MAVEN spacecraft that orbited Mars and kind of put the final nail in that coffin that, yes, in fact, the atmosphere of Mars was escaping. And this is due to the fact that Mars lost its magnetic field, which protected it from the solar wind. So the solar wind has been knocking off the Martian atmosphere for something like 4 billion years. That means that the atmospheric pressure decreases, the surface temperature decreases, and you have a much less habitable environment. Perseverance discovered igneous rocks, volcanic rocks, in the Jezero crater where it landed. And these rocks were kind of mixed with water interactions. So this is an area that had a strong volcanic activity as well as an aqueous environment. Here's another area. This is a sedimentary rock, so that would be consistent with the existence of large bodies of water. So we just, everywhere we look on Mars, we see the presence of ancient, or the evidence for ancient water. And the thinking is that there were oceans on Mars, oceans of water, especially in the lowlands in the northern hemisphere. This is the MOXIE instrument. I mentioned it earlier, able to create oxygen from the CO2 atmosphere of Mars. And so it's an engineering experiment. And here we see it ran 16 times, producing 4 ounces of oxygen, which would keep an astronaut alive for about 4 hours. So the fact that this was highly successful is good news for potential humans on Mars. Well, here's the little surprise I had. This is a video. I'll call it a rock video developed by JPL for the Curiosity rover. So just sit back and enjoy. And you can rock out if you want to.
We're not EDL, time for 7 minutes of flaming hell. Roof's touching down, everybody pass peanuts around. Yeah, we have mission control, getting full use out of every soul. Just 25 feet left to go, it's Curiosity, look out below, yo. Try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, and nothing bug out. Try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, and nothing bug out. Kicking at my console, this is what I see. Okay, data streaming back from Curiosity. I got stars on my hawk, and I ain't afraid to show it, show it, show it, show it. We're NASA and we know it. We're NASA and we know it. Yo, when I look for ice, gotta calibrate, gotta be precise. And when I raise the mass, panoramic views are unsurpassed. This is how I roll, baking red rocks in my nuclear stove. We headed to the peak with my laser eye, no one to bury me when it's time to die. Ow. Try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, and nothing to bug out. Try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, try and lower that rover, Nanette and the bug gal. Shout out to Carl the Sail and Neil the Grass Tea. Shout out to JPL and the Rocker Bogey. We're better than SpaceX, and we ain't afraid to show it, show it, show it, show it. We're NASA and we know it. We're NASA and we know it. We're NASA and we know it.
Fantastic.
Just a common day at JPL, common work day. Nothing special here.
Well, if you want to inspire young people to get involved with careers like that, that's the way to do it, isn't it?
Hope you enjoyed that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Lou. Very, very interesting. Another battle of the bots over with, and lots of interesting stuff there. Okay, we're going to move on now, finally this evening, with our usual feature, Constellation of the Week. So this week, Roger is going to be talking us through another Constellation of the Week. What have you got for us this week, Roger?
Well, something fishy this week, so it's Pisces.
Hurrah!
Oh,
Okay, let me just put this up for you.
Right. So here we go. So Pisces, it's not currently visible at the moment, although it will be later on through the night, as it's down below Andromeda and Pegasus. So Pisces, the fishes. It's quite a large constellation. It's stuck between Aquarius and Aries, being one of the 12, should I dare say, astrological constellations. But it does have some interesting things about it, so we'll hopefully learn something new tonight that might be of interest. As you can see, there are quite a lot of stars there, but they're not all very bright. But there we go. So it's very, very interesting. So it has got its own symbol for that, and it's been related to the Greco-Roman antiquity. So that's how it's originally got its name. Although it's a large constellation, there are only 2 stars brighter than magnitude 4. So it's not a very bright constellation at all. But we do have some interesting facts here. We've also got, do you know Alpha Piscium is called Alresha?
Oh.
Not a lot of people will know that.
No, I didn't know that.
No, it's, well, they're only 310 light years away and is a magnitude 3.6 variable binary star.
Well, there you go.
So there we go. So there are quite a few interesting things here. So we've got Delta Piscium, which is also a 305 light years away. We've also got some other interesting names called Rivati, which is Zeta Piscium, Altberg, which is Eta Piscium. So we've got quite a few variational types of stars here. We've got class G stars, class K stars. So we've pretty much got the full Monty of the spectral classes of stars going right through this constellation. So it can be quite an interesting view if you've got interest in all the different types of stars. We've also got Delta Piscium, which has got a high proper motion, and it's closer to the sun than any solar dwarf star. So it does have some some interesting properties of this constellation. So we do have some objects there. There is a Messier object, M74, which is the top of the 4 images that I've got associated here. It's 30 million light years away and has lots of different clusters and stars associated with nebula in there. Originally discovered by Pierre Machin, obviously then got on to Charles Messier's catalogue. And in 2003, there was a Type 2P supernova in the outer reaches there. So that was quite an interesting thing. And the star underwent a supernova and had a mass of 8 solar masses. So it became the brightest object, as these supernova obviously do make a very big appearance. And then we've also got a face on prototypical spiral galaxy, NGC 488. And there's been 2 supernovae in that one.
Wow.
Not to be outdone. And if you want something a bit more dramatic, we've got a pair of colliding galaxies of NGC 520. So they're quite good. So they're at a distance of 3.6 billion light years away. So that's quite a way away. And then the final object that we've got in Pisces is a radio source, which is 237 million miles away. So a few variations of objects there to study if you're into that sort of thing. Obviously, different cultures through the previous centuries have given it different names. The fish is in the German lore of Antonetta, who owned just a tub and a crew cabin when he met 2 magical fish. They offered him a wish, which he refused. However, his wife begged him to return to the fish and asked for a beautifully furnished home. The wish was granted, but her desires were not satisfied. Since then, asked to be a queen and to have a palace, when she asked to become a goddess, the fish became angry and took the palace and home, leaving the couple with a tub and cabin once again.
Oh.
And the tub is sometimes recognized as the Great Square of Pegasus.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Well, trust the Germans to give a really happy story on that. And Chinese astronomy, they called it the Weiping, the outer enclosure that was a fence that kept a pig farmer from falling into the marshes and kept the pigs where they belonged. So different interpretations completely on depending on the culture and how you perceive the different outlines of these constellations. So that's it, basically. A quick rundown of the constellation of Pisces.
Oh,
Thank you very much. Yes.
Great, thank you very much, Roger. Wonderful. So yes, I mean, not as you said, not a bright constellation, but nonetheless an interesting one. So
yes.
Let me just get it off the screen. There we are then. So with the constellation of the week, thank you, Roger. We will probably, almost certainly have another one next week. And that is about it for this evening. So thank you for being with us during these more or less 2 hours this evening. We do appreciate your time. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your coffees. And thank you to those of you who have joined Patreon and are supporting us on a monthly basis. And that really helps us. So if you would like to become a Patreon member and get all sorts of goodies, then go to patreon.com/Space Oddities, and you can join us for the measly sum of £5.50 a month plus VAT if you're in the UK. And that really helps us a lot. And you get all sorts of goodies. So what more do you want out of life? That's what I'd like to know. Anyway, I'd like to give big thanks to Daz, to Michael, to Lou, to Roger, and to myself. Why not? And we will be back the same time next week when we'll have even more stuff for you. We do announce, hopefully in advance, on the Patreon. There's a chat in the Patreon called What's Coming Up. So you can have a look there to see what's coming up in the future. Just a reminder that September is Mars month here on Space Oddities. We're doing Mars in the same way that we did the Moon. So all the programming in September will be related to Mars in some way. And we'll have some lovely, interesting stuff for you for that. So you've got that to look forward to. But do keep your eye on the coming up chat in the Patreon page. And that'll tell you what we're up to. And don't forget all those lovely goodies that you get for becoming a Space Oddities member. Full details on Patreon. All right, we'll leave you tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Have a fantastic week, everybody. And just a reminder for astronomers in the UK that for the next 40 days, you're not going to get any astronomy done because today is St. Swithin's Day.
Hey.
According to tradition, means it's going to rain for the next 40 days and nights. So
and we've already had lots of rain today.
There you are on St. Swithin's Day. So happy St. Swithin's Day, everybody, and good luck with you observing. But let's hope that the legend isn't true. So there we go. Good luck with that. All right. Take care, everybody. Look after each other. We'll see you next week. And thank you so much for your support. It does mean a lot to us. Take care.
Keep looking up.
Bye, all.